So we're talking today with Ruth Bannon, who is the Outreach and Community Volunteer Officer with Fingal Volunteer Centre. You're very welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
So you might tell us a little bit about your own role, what you do, and how it impacts on volunteers.
Okay, so I suppose my role in the centre would be to connect volunteers with organisations that use volunteers and require volunteers. I also have one-off events I look after, which would be the Community Volunteer Programme. And I go off and I would give talks into hospitals, schools, community centres, different groups, men's and women's sheds, about the positivity of volunteering.
Very good. Can you tell us then when the Fingal Centre came into being?
Yeah, so there's actually, we're one of the few countries now who actually uses volunteers. We're very focused on volunteering in Ireland and see such positivity with it. There's a volunteer centre in every county, and Dublin we're very lucky to have 4.
Yeah.
So the Fingal Volunteer Centre was set up in 2001. So we're going a very long time now, and we've been supporting all the organisations. We have a couple of 100 organisations, NGOs, not-for-profit and charity organisations throughout the whole of Fingal area.
So tell us a bit about some of the services you provide.
Okay, so we have a website. Fingal Volunteer Centre, and that can connect you onto the national website called iVol, or you can directly log on to ivol.ie. That's IVOL for volunteer.ie. And here you will see all the current roles up that are put up by organisations that volunteers might want to engage with. So If someone is looking to volunteer in their community, they can go on to iVol and they'd be able to see all the different opportunities there that's available.
And probably a loaded question. Why do you think people volunteer?
Oh, gosh. Well, I know why I volunteer. I volunteer huge in my community. I see such positive benefit to the community and to the individual by volunteering. I've been volunteering in my local community for a very long time. I am an event director with my local parkrun, as well as the race director, and I would have hundreds of volunteers. So I've been doing that for 11 years now. And I would also volunteer in my local community first responders. So that is in Malahide and Portmarnock. And we engage as a first responder in the event of crisis calls like strokes, heart attack and cardiac arrest. Yeah. So I suppose getting back to your question would be volunteering gives so much self-worth. It actually connects you with the community. You meet friends and people that you never would have connections with prior to volunteering. Through my volunteering, I have made so many different friends and different experiences that I never would have. So I think it's such a positive thing, and I think everybody should try volunteering because there's so many really, really worthy charities and organisations in our community that really do need so many volunteers and that are upheld by their volunteers and that only function through volunteers.
Is there the same level of interest now? You know, you often hear it said that people are more isolated now. With social media, we're kind of caught up in our own little worlds more and more, you know.
Well, to be honest, at the moment, we're run out the door. It's extremely busy, which is really positive. Yeah. We're, I suppose my mission would be to try to get out there to all the organisations and see where they can use volunteers. Be it they may just have paid employees and might be a small organisation, but if they're a charity organisation, they might have an event coming up that they would love to have a volunteer photographer at that event. So we could post that role up for looking for a photographer for their event. So it's not going to there's not going to be a cost there which they wouldn't have. So we've done that with organisations here in the Dublin 15 area. And we've provided volunteers through board of management, through payroll, photography. There's a volunteer role really for everybody. But I feel more so even since COVID, people are wanting to engage back in the community. Yeah. And be involved. And I suppose once they're realising the different options and the array of different stuff, like there's brilliant organisations like our Tidy Towns, but there's so much more volunteering like yourselves in BCIL and like in Phoenix FM. We have so many broad and diverse roles out there for someone. So whether they want to volunteer from home or whether they want to volunteer at a one-off event or whether they want to volunteer on a weekly basis, we have a role that fits. Yeah.
If there's somebody listening today, how would they get involved in volunteering? How would you recommend they get involved?
Contact the centre. Firstly, you could have a look on ivol.ie and you will be able to see the broad spectrum of roles there. But also, as I'm going out into the community, I'm definitely seeing a need for a lot of roles that maybe necessarily hasn't been put up yet. So I have been doing one-off projects and engaging volunteers with that, and also maybe creating more roles in organisations that they even didn't feel that they had a role for, but after having a discussion, they're kind of going, wow, would a volunteer actually do that? Yeah. So if you go on to ivol.ie or contact myself, Ruth, in Fingal Volunteer Centre, and have a chat. I can go and I can meet with people, have a cup of coffee and really see what their interests are and try to steer them in a role that suits them, because I do feel that when you engage in a volunteer role like yourselves, and if you get worth out of it and if you're really happy in doing that, you will continue on with that role, and then that helps the organisation. So we're looking for all the volunteers really to get suited to a role that suits them.
And tell me this, all volunteers have to be Garda vetted?
Gosh, no.
What's involved there?
So I think that's a huge misconception, is that volunteers need to be Garda vetted. Only in particular roles would Garda vetting be required. So a lot of roles like the one-off events that we do in the community volunteers, there's no Garda vetting there. With a lot of the community, there's no Garda vetting required in an awful lot of roles. Garda vetting, the misconception would be that it has to be done for all roles. It's only checking someone's history based on the role that they're going for. So if you're going to just say like BCIL and you're looking to volunteer in Blanchardstown Centre for Independent Living, you would need Garda vetting, because you're going to be able to establish a relationship with someone. So if you're going for a volunteer role, that you would have the possibility of being able to form a relationship with someone who's either elderly or someone who's children, or someone who would have a special need. Garda vetting would be required, and it would be based on that role. So Garda vetting isn't required in an awful lot of volunteer roles.
Good. Tell me this, what's the Community Volunteer Project all about?
So it's a wonderful project. It's commenced really with COVID. Volunteer centres seen the need with COVID and everything shutting down, with the array of vaccination centres. They needed volunteers, so we set up a programme called Community Volunteers, and we gathered up all the volunteers who wanted to do these one-off roles, go into the vaccination centres and volunteer on spec. So then the programme kind of grew, and now we get involved with our local council. So like me here in Fingal, I'm the Community Volunteer Officer. I would do loads of amazing events. So we've done sporting events, music events, festivals. We do small little culture days. And it's basically an event that's happening. We'll use Fingal. It's an event, a one-off event that happens in Fingal. And whoever's organising the event would contact the volunteer centre. And they would say, look, I'm looking to have this festival, or we're looking to organise this family day or a culture day. So we would go through how many volunteers they need, what's the volunteers' requirements for the day, and I would then, as the manager, organise volunteers so that the organisers of the event don't need to do that. Okay. So like that, we'll be doing the Flavours of Fingal coming up in Donabate, and I'll need probably about 30, 40 volunteers on each day, on the Saturday and Sunday. And that's a fantastic event to be part of. But there's many different community volunteer events going on.
I saw that, and there's a vast amount of information on your website.
Yes, there is. So,
Expo Fingal 2024, what's all that about?
Okay, so we do this. We have, like I said, so many different organisations that we work with, and it's a way of promoting. We organise exhibitions, expos for in the main kind of catchment areas. So we would have Swords, we would have Blanchardstown, Balbriggan and Baldoyle. We would like to spread it out to more Fingal, but at the moment that's what we're looking for. We've already done the Blanchardstown Expo, so we generally have them within the local community. That was in the Blanchardstown Library. We invite the organisations who work with volunteers to come and set up a table and just to talk to the general public. We invite the general public. So we would have a number of different organisations. So any member of the public that is interested in volunteering and actually want to directly talk to the different organisations.
Cool.
It's a fantastic way. And
Sounds brilliant.
It is, and it's a lovely way for, we find the different organisations to network and to see also the different organisations within that area and how they could also support each other.
And what's the volunteer outreach programme?
So the outreach programme will be like me coming here today.
Right.
I go out and I give talks on volunteering. I've gone into the Blanchardstown Hospital there and talked about the positivities of volunteering to people in some of the wards there. Yeah. I go into schools and an array of different organisations in the community, but then we might see a need to start up a project. So we actually done that when I gave a talk, and I done an outreach programme in the Hartstown Community School. Right. And after discussing, having a great chat with the kids there, they were all applied leave and cert. So we seen the need for a project there, and I had been in contact with one of our organisations, Piet House and Sinead there, and we had been mentioning a project that we were doing with people from International Protection. They were making cards for people, residents in nursing home, and the residents didn't receive much contacts or cards or letters or birthday cards. So we actually done a lovely project. And when Sinead seen that we were doing this, and after talking to the guys in Hartstown, we decided to do a project, a craft making project. We got this amazing volunteer called Gemma involved. She helped us with this, support us with this project, and we took out the project room in the Blanchardstown Library, and the children came with their teacher. The teenagers, young adults, they came with their teacher, and we done over 100 thank you cards for the organisers of Darkness into Light, which was just last weekend. So they're all thank you cards, and I'll be delivering them to Sinead now today after this.
God.
So we do lovely. That would be part of our outreach programme.
That's brilliant. What about the Fingal Managing Volunteer Awards? What's all that about?
Okay, so the Fingal Managing Volunteer Awards is that extra step, extra bit of training that we can provide organisations. So a lot of organisations we're finding are only really starting to see the benefits of volunteering, and a lot of the bigger organisations are starting to take on people for the roles of volunteer managers, and we're seeing that across the board. So it's extra training that we can provide all the different organisations, so be it a small organisation or a large organisation. Like I said, I'm the event director in Parkrun, so we're part of the Fingal Managing Volunteer Awards. It's that extra little level of training that can be given to be able to help deal and manage with volunteers, and it's a 3-step programme. So there is a lovely kind of recognition then at the end of the year. We have a lovely event. So on the 5th of December is National Volunteer Day, and this year we'll be hosting it in the Grand Hotel in Malahide in the Tower Suite there. We will be inviting some of the organisations that deal with us, that deal with volunteers through us, and we will be presenting the organisations that doing the Fingal Managing Volunteer Awards. We're presenting them there with their certificates and awards.
Excellent. I know we, as a group, BCIL, we got level 1 and level 2.
Yeah.
And aside from the award, it was great training.
This is it, and it just equips organisations to be that little bit more confident with their volunteers and in any questions that they may have, because no question is silly. So it's an open forum to be able to ask questions as well when you're at these training centres, and to learn from other organisations that would be at the awards and the training.
Is there other training that you do with organisations?
Yeah, like we have an array of training available. Volunteer Ireland would have an awful lot of training that we would also can direct organisations depending on the type of training that they're looking for. But absolutely, we can help upskill their volunteers and their volunteer managers. Brilliant.
So how will people contact you if they want to become a volunteer?
Okay, so they can contact us at the Fingal Volunteer Centre, or they can email us at info@volunteerfingal.ie, or they can call us at 01 899 1921, or they can contact me directly at Ruth@Volunteer Fingal.
Very good. It's a very rewarding thing to volunteer. You get great reward from it.
You get exceptional rewards, and like after talking to a lot of people in the community, the amount of upskilling that they can get from the organisations that we deal with. So there's one particular girl that I'm thinking of. She joined a charity, and they discovered that she was absolutely excellent at doing all their logos and their graphic design, and they have now the organisation have now funded her to do a graphic design course at night time to upskill. So she's now doing that, and it's being funded by the charity. There's so many different opportunities that people can start off small, and you don't know where it's going to take you. Volunteering is definitely such a rewarding thing to get involved with.
Now, we're right at the end of our time. Is there anything else you'd like to put out there? Give the contact details one more time.
Yeah, so our telephone number is 01 899 1921, or they can email us at info@volunteerfingal.ie, or have a look at our website. It's Fingal Volunteer Centre.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a lovely morning.